There have been further attacks in Ukraine, which is escalating the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. It has been reported strikes by Russia which have resulted in widespread damage, including the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which is Europe's largest. Russia have now started to use hypersonic missiles, which can travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound. The latest barrage of attacks by Russia represents a significant escalation in the conflict and is likely to have far-reaching consequences for both countries and the wider international community. The recent Russian attacks have resulted in at least 9 deaths and caused widespread damage, which includes the Zaporizhzhia. The attack included the use of Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, which can evade air defense and had reportedly not been used in the conflict for some time. Ukrainian forces claim to have successfully shot down 34 cruise missiles and 4 Iranian-made drones, but were unable to intercept the Kinzhal missiles, as well as older weapons like Ki-22 anti-ship missiles and S-300 anti-aircraft missiles. The international community has been concerned about whether Russia would start using their hypersonic missiles, as there have been reported that Russia has been testing 2 hypersonic weapons in mid-February. In 2018, Russian President Vladimir Putin also claimed that the Kinzhal could travel at 10 times the speed of sound and had a range of around 1,250 miles. Putin also boasted that nobody else has them yet. More recently, in 2021, he stated that the Kinzhal and other weapons were unparalleled in terms of tactical and technical specifications, and that certain items will remain unmatched for a long time ahead. The Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, Igor Konashenkov, said that high-precision long-range air, sea, and land-based weapons, including the Kinzhal hypersonic missile system, hit key elements of Ukraine's military infrastructure. This was the biggest day of Russian strikes on Ukraine since the end of January, and the Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson described it as a major attack, and for the first time with so many different types of missiles. The situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is really alarming. A recent strike led to a power cut that disconnected the facility from the Ukrainian power system. This power system is super important for keeping the radioactive material at the plant cool. To make matters worse, this was the 6th time in a year that the plant had to rely on diesel generators until the link was restored. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, has sounded the alarm. He's warning that today's power outage once again showed how risky and fragile the situation is for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Grossi is also urging the international community to take action to protect the plant. There have been a series of strikes since the invasion began, and he's worried that if we don't do something, we're just rolling the dice. Eventually, the luck will run out, and there could be dire consequences. Russia's recent use of hypersonic missiles highlights their investment in ballistic hypersonic technology. President Vladimir Putin has previously emphasized Russia's proficiency in this area. However, the latest attacks by Russia have represented a major escalation in the conflict, and this is likely to have significant consequences for both countries and the rest of the international community. Siddharth Kaushal, a research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute in London, said that hypersonic weapons are difficult to intercept due to their speed, altitude, and maneuverability, making them a priority weapons category for most major nations. He also mentioned that these weapons can be useful for stressing air defenses, striking high-value targets, and are a significant but expensive capability to develop. As tensions continue to rise between Russia and Ukraine, the recent attack on a Ukrainian energy facility using a Kinzhal hypersonic missile has left many questioning the logic behind the choice of weapon. According to experts, the Kinzhal is a highly expensive and limited weapon, with no reliable estimates on the number of missiles available to Russia or how quickly they can be produced. Andriy Yusov, spokesman for the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's main intelligence directorate, estimated that Russia probably has about 40 of the missiles. The use of the Kinzhals demonstrates Russia's readiness to deploy a weapon that Ukraine cannot shoot down, and that Russia could direct against high-value targets in the future. The United States is ramping up its efforts to catch up with Russia and China in hypersonic weapons technology. To protect against these types of weapons, the Pentagon's budget for hypersonic research will rise from $3.8 billion in 2022 to $4.7 billion in 2023, as reported by the Congressional Research Service. Furthermore, the Missile Defense Agency has requested $225.5 million for hypersonic defense. However, former Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, Michael D. Griffin, cautions that it may not be until the mid-2020s at the earliest before the U.S. will have a defensive capability against hypersonic missiles. Russia is currently ahead in hypersonic technology, with its Kinzhal missile considered a breakthrough. Although some Western military analysts refer to it as a quasi-ballistic missile or maneuvering air-launched ballistic missile, Russia describes it as a hypersonic missile. President Vladimir Putin has announced that Russia will continue to produce Kinzhals and begin mass deliveries of Circon-Sea-launched hypersonic missiles this year. The development of these missiles is due to Moscow's concern that advances in U.S. air defenses could render Russia's nuclear arsenal obsolete. Russia's President, Vladimir Putin, has repeatedly voiced his concerns about the U.S. increasing number of anti-ballistic missiles, their quality, and the creation of new missile launching areas. In 2018, he warned that if Russia doesn't take any action, the nation's nuclear potential will be completely devalued. This could mean that all of Russia's missiles could be easily intercepted. As the use of hypersonic weapons becomes more common, nations are competing to develop their own defense systems against them. However, the U.S. is currently lagging behind Russia and China in terms of hypersonic technology. This means that they'll need to work hard to catch up and develop more advanced defense systems to protect themselves from hypersonic weapons. It's worth noting that hypersonic weapons are a growing concern for many countries. As they become more advanced, they're likely to change the way that nations approach defense and warfare. For now, the race is on to develop the most effective systems to protect against these weapons. There have been reports of multiple explosions in the western and southern districts of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. As a result, emergency services have been deployed to these areas. In addition, an energy facility in the port city of Odessa was hit by a missile, which led to power outages in the region. The governor of Odessa, Maxim Marchenko, confirmed that the incident had impacted residential areas and that there were no casualties reported thus far. Meanwhile, tensions are high in the eastern city of Bakhmut and have been under intense attacks. Although Russian forces have claimed to have taken control of the city's eastern half, the Ukrainian forces reports that they have successfully pushed back against the attacks. Even though the Ukrainian forces warns that Russia continues to launch attacks and shows no signs of stopping in the nearest future. The fight for Bakhmut has been a long and gruesome event, with both sides experiencing devastating casualties. Lately, the Russian forces were engaged in a fierce battle to cross the narrow river in Bakhmut, a city located in eastern Ukraine. The fighting escalated as Ukrainian troops are preparing their counteroffensive at reclaiming Russian-occupied territory. Unfortunately, the Ukrainian forces have been pushed out of their position on the eastern side of the river, and the river now marks the front line between Wagner Group and the Ukrainian troops. According to Yevgeny Prigozhin, Russian troops are positioned about 3/4 of a mile from the center of Bakhmut. To sum up, the recent series of attacks by Russia against Ukraine marks a major increase in the ongoing conflict between the two nations. One key element of the strikes was the use of hypersonic missiles, which Russia has been heavily investing in. These ballistic weapons can travel at over 5 times the speed of sound, demonstrating Russia's technological prowess in the field of weaponry. Of particular concern is the recent attack on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which has raised alarm bells around the world. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency has called on nations to unite in a commitment to safeguard the plant, recognizing the serious risk posed by any damage to the facility. Thank you for watching, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on any updates on the Ukraine-Russia war.